What is going on, YouTube? I hope all is well and that you've had a wonderful week. This video is long overdue. I had already done it last weekend, or I should say this past weekend. But I wasn't happy with the lighting. I'm still not now, so I'm just gonna redo it again anyway. And here we are. So I wanted to give you an idea of what you can expect to come in the box. And when I say the box, because when you order your stuff from Antique Electronic Supply or Tube Depot, and you start getting the quantities of stuff that you're going to need to build an amplifier, obviously the chassis will be in there and stuff like that too, perhaps. You're going to get everything in a box. This is how everything's going to come, though. It's going to come in little baggies in independently wrapped stuff. And obviously it'll come with some sort of way to denote what it is. 1.5K, 100 ohm. Some Tube Depot stuff here, 4.7 kilo ohm. These are metal oxide, 3 watt, and it tells you right on there. So there's some different things that are going to come. Obviously, your pots are going to come in a bag. Your fuse holder will come in a bag. Your jewel, all that fun stuff. All the different parts are going to come in a little bag. This is your output transformer here. I have the power transformer too, but it's a little bit big to be, kind of showing here in this part. So, but just to give you an idea of what's in the box. Now, so you see here, I got some stuff spread out already for another, another amp build that I got coming up. But let's talk a little bit about some things to consider in your purchases. Obviously, you're going to need to get some standoffs. I use a 3-inch chassis, and well, I have been using 3-inch chassis, and for 3-inch chassis, I use 3/4-inch standoffs. For the 2.5 or 2-inch tall chassis, I use the 1/2-inch standoffs. You're going to need to get some 632 threads, or nuts, screws, or whatnot, with bolts and all that other nuts. Gosh, nuts! To work with these as well. So keep that in mind. You'll need to order some screws for these as well. You got your fuse holder. I think this is a 3AG or 3GA, something like that. It's fairly standard. There's a bunch of different styles. I like this style, so this is the one I use. The cliff jacks. Obviously, the cliff jacks are going to come in a baggie of their own. I like this particular style. I guess it's the Marshall style, if you will. This one is the mono version. They didn't have any stereo ones at the time that I'd ordered a bunch of these. I have a pretty good stock of these now, but there's nothing wrong with the mono ones. You can use these ones, of course. They switch just as well. The only reason I really like the stereo for the input is that the stereo, it has a little more of a firm bite on the the plug when you plug it in, and it gives you a little bit of, it gives you some other switching options. I mean, you have one more thing that you could switch if you want it. So you don't have to, but this one will work just dandy. Obviously, you've got your pots that are going to come. This is the dual gang I was talking about. They'll have their thing on there. This is a audio taper 1 meg. This one's a C500, so this is actually one that I would use for guitars. But in any case, that'll come. You get your built-in tube sockets. I like this style. This is the bottom mount version, so if your chassis is here, it'll mount from the bottom up, and then this would be just flush with the top of the chassis. I like these too because they got nice long leads on them that you can get in there to put some, get your wire wrapped in there and whatnot. Gets you a little more space. You're going to need to get some terminal strips or terminal tags, if you will. Obviously, for grounding points or anything like that, you'll want this. So let's talk about switches a little. Well, no, let's go back just a skosh. So obviously you're going to need to get some turrets. The turrets are 3mm typically. There's 2 different sizes. There's 3 and 2mm, and it has to do with the thickness of the board that you're going to use. So obviously you put those in there, and then with the stake and anvil, you can, if I could get that thing to focus and get in there, you can see how it sticks up. You'll put the anvil on this side here, and then you'll use the stake to drive this and flatten it out so it becomes one with the turret board. Obviously you got different turret board options. You can get different colors. There's a few different sizes that you can order as well. Let's get to the power switches. So I had mentioned that I use double pull, single throw switches these days now. I've gone away from this style of switch here. This one happens to be a 6 amp version. I do not like the 6 amp versions, and I'll tell you why. This one has a nice affirmative click, but it just doesn't have the feel. It's not, I don't know. I don't like the way it feels. This is a 6 amp. This one here is the 15 amp version. This one's just a single pole, single throw, but this one has a much more affirmative, just clack. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's got the feel. When you turn this switch on, you know it is on. Whereas this one here is just, I don't know. It sounds hollow, it feels hollow, and it's not nearly as substantial as this one. Both made by Carling, but this one's a 6 amp, this one's a 15 amp. Get the 15 amp in this style. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I think this is the safer, better way to build an amp. And I use this for my power switches now. So I like this particular style of jewel base, if you will. It does not come with the jewel lens, so you'll have to order this part separately. I opted for clear. There's a multitude of different colors. It also does not come with a bulb, excuse me. I have a bulb in here already, but I like this style of jewel lamp base, if you will. Couple different reasons. It just feels solid. It's a little more expensive than the Fender style one that has like the little L-shaped bracket that comes out. Now, another consideration is whether or not you want to run this at 6.3 volts or 120 volts. I like running it at 120 volts because with the power switch here, I can just run it right next to it, run some leads over, and when I turn the switch on, obviously, this will turn on with it. So, there's a couple different 120 volt bulbs that you can choose from. I believe it's a BA9 is the base style. I'm pretty sure it's BA9. But if you look up base sockets for that in 120 volt, there are some different options. This one is an incandescent one. So it's got a nice like 2700K like glow to it. So it's got a nice warm amberish glow, if you will. Whereas this one, it's a little more difficult to find the color that you want because they're usually, I think, 3000 Kelvin, which is pretty bright. It's a pretty bright white almost. So the colors is nice with this one, but it runs much cooler than obviously the incandescent one. I've been using these with this style of jewel lamp for a couple of my builds now, and I haven't seen any problems in the couple years that I've had these in an amp, but it is on my radar for the future. If I start running into problems, these jewels are made out of plastic. They're not made out of glass, so obviously heat generated by things like this could be an issue. I don't think these run any hotter than a 6.3 volt one, but you never know. So I'm not trying to find out the hard way, so I'm keeping an eye on that one. But the other downside to the LED style one is cost. I think a pair of these is like 10 bucks. I think these are maybe $9 a piece or something. As I recall. Whereas a set of these, you can get 10 of these for, 10 bucks. These are about $1 a piece or so. So there are a couple different cost differences, but this is the knob that I like to use. I like the vintage style knobs. Obviously, you can pick any one you like. The reason I like this particular one, though, I'll try to get it so you can see, but this one, you can kind of see that it's got a cam in there, so the metal insert inside there won't allow the plastic to spin around the base. So that is a nice feature of this one. That's why I like this particular style of knob. It's good quality, and I know it's going to stay on my shaft and not spin. Again, this is the mute switch that I use. This is a Carling. I've already got the little beauty nut on it. Great switches. This is what I use for my mute, but you can obviously use those for other things. Let's talk a little bit about capacitors. We got a couple different options here. So we'll talk a little bit about the power capacitors, the power supply capacitors. F&T is definitely worth the money. There's obviously other brands out there, Sprag. You've heard of like the Sprag Atoms. You probably heard some of the rumors about them as well. Just sport the money for the F&Ts. These are as good as they come for the type of application that we're using them for, which is guitar amps. Whereas this, which is a Nishikon, is a better capacitor technically. Obviously, I would love to build more amps using these things. These are cheaper and better. These are rated for 105C. These ones are only rated for 85C. So these ones just are, they handle higher temperatures. That's really all it is. So these are a little bit more stable. But another benefit to these guys here, 22 UF, 22 UF. Look at the size difference. This thing's about 3 times the size of one of these. Another thing, this guy here, $5 to $10 or something. These are about $1 a piece. So huge difference in cost between these, but these are superior to these. But yes, I know. Sorry, thank you. We'll get back to you later. As with most things, though, building guitar amplifiers, especially if you're building them for money or to sell, vanity kind of wins in a lot of instances. And I'm building, to sell my amps, so, I kind of have to take the things that are going to, appeal to my end user, more or less. So I use F&T. I'll probably start transitioning into these. These are just a harder sell, but these are better. One of these days I hope to be able to use them, because as nice as these are, they're not nice enough to really warrant their cost, but such is life. These guys here, you got your Sozo. You probably can't see it. I've been working on the lighting and it glares off. It's weird how with the naked eye it doesn't seem to be a problem, but you throw a camera in the way and it's just, I don't know what the hell. But so these are generic. This particular one here anyway is just a generic capacitor. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Obviously the Sozos are nice too. There's nothing wrong with the Sozos, but let's see if I can get this thing to focus, please. So the Sozos are nice. $5, maybe $1. Is there a $4 difference between them? I can't say that there is. I use these guys to do my prototyping. I don't reuse them, so once I cut the leads or solder the ends, I chuck them. I kind of just get rid of them. So I use these to prototype the amp, and then once I have the amp built the way I want, I'll go back to building it with these in hopes that I got it right, because, but they sound so close that I can use this and go through several of them before I settle on an idea or design, and then stick to the good stuff, if you will. Again, vanity choice. I feel that this is a hard sell. I mean, I can't justify selling an amp for $2,000 to $3,000 to somebody and have this type of capacitor in it, the cheaper, knockoff brands. So I do use the Sozos or other higher dollar brands. Mallory's, there's nothing wrong with Mallory's. There's nothing wrong with some of the other ones out there. I don't like the MODs, but that's a me thing. Resistors. Is there a difference between this resistor and these resistors? Probably not. This one is a Dale Vichy one. I like the look. I like the form factor. This, in all ways, is a better resistor. It is still a metal film resistor, though. It's rated for 1 watt under a certain temperature, and over a certain temperature, it gets derated back down to a ½ watt. Whereas these ones don't really tell you. These ones are just ½ watt resistors, and that's all there is to it. I like the look of this one much better. As nice as it is to see the bands, I don't know. This one's just, it's cleaner. It looks more professional. It has, I don't know. It has that vanity thing going for it that I really kind of like. So I've been using these lately, although I do use these as well. They're interchangeable. I am not sold yet on the whole idea between using carbon composition and carbon film in different parts of the amp. In the power supply or HT side of the amplifier, I think you must and should be using metal film, obviously metal oxides and stuff like that. When it comes to the signal flow or signal side of the circuit, I have had 0 issues using metal film. I don't see why anybody would want to use carbon composition. They're noisy. You have to get super duper huge ones in order to get the noise to go away to an appreciable level. Whereas these guys are quiet. They're not any bigger than any other resistor, and I think they look better. So that is a me thing. You can obviously do it however you like. Obviously, when these things here are, nearly $1 a piece, and you can get, 5 or 10 of these for about $1. it starts driving the cost up. So I don't care about cost. When I build an amp, I build it to be, with the best that money can buy. But when I am prototyping, I do use the cheaper stuff, obviously, so I can keep the cost down and come to a design, because I do end up tossing a lot of these away. Because, like I say, I do not reuse the part once I have cut it and soldered the leads. Once I put it in the amp, if I don't like it, it's getting pulled out and it's going in a trash bin. Obviously, there's a couple different brands of transformers you can use. I've been using Hammond lately, although I'm not super satisfied with them. I don't like how they paint them. They paint the outside and they get it on the wires and stuff like that. So then I have to clean off the paint from the wires, and it takes time to clean it. I'm not a big enough builder yet to be demanding custom transformers and stuff like that. So I'm trying to find another transformer company that makes clear ones that aren't painted, or at least doesn't paint the damn leads that come out of the transformer. Hammond, come on. Just come on. Really? Do you have to paint the leads? Oh, I wish I could show you. I don't want to rip this out of the box. This is a brand new one. It's still in the tape, hasn't been cut yet, but you can look at pictures and see them online. They dip the whole thing, or they spray paint it with lacquer or whatever, and so maddening. It's just, to me, that's kind of just spells cheap, and maybe they do that on purpose so that, people like me aren't sitting there trying to, sell $2,000 amps for, But in either case, just wanted to give you an idea of what's going to come in the box and give you some considerations for the parts that you order, because hopefully you've maybe started coming to the idea of what you want and are ready to start ordering some of these parts. And, well, here pretty soon we're going to start populating a turret board and putting on a show. But thank you for sticking with me as long as you have already. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.